Welcome back. What do you think the world, I mean, all major countries face this issue, should do about the issue of immigration?
Quite honestly, I think immigration is important. It has been two countries that have certainly done well off of immigration.
The United States being one.
United States and Canada. I lived in Toronto for 6 years, and the immigrant population there, they're the ones a lot of times that take these jobs and start these little businesses that none of us, we think we're too good to do, and become ultimately big players in the communities. So it's, and particularly when you take into consideration that those people that are leaving generally want to do better. So they're the ones that we need to find a way to accommodate. You know that saying, what's the saying, rising water lifts all boats or something? Mm-hmm. And those are the people that help bring our communities along. Competition is, we lose sight of how important that is. If I have a little bit of fear that somebody's going to take my job, most of the time I'm going to try and make sure that I do my job a little bit better. Have these immigrants coming in, they think differently. They bring something to the community that we didn't have before. I think they're very important. Now, should we just allow wholesale mass immigration? I don't think so. I think in some instances you might be overwhelmed. But there should be certainly a simpler process.
Rick Lowe is, I guess, talk about the importance of ideas, especially at the Nassau Institute, and the importance of having the freedom to argue those ideas without restraint.
It's a wonderful freedom. We take a lot for granted, particularly here in the Bahamas, but we can say these things. However, you're met a lot of times, particularly with the status quo, people that want to maintain the status quo because they're happy with their lot in life. I wouldn't want to lose my job. You know, I'd have a difficult time paying my mortgage if I lost my job. However, it's without change, without this ability to get these ideas out. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought, but let me go back to the Nassau Institute in particular. When we started in '95, we were branded as radical, extremist. You know, we didn't know what we were talking about. Discussed back then about education and Milton Friedman's vouchers, and they're discussed today. Normally, they're not, you know, the people that bring those issues up, except us, are not considered extreme. And so that's the benefit of ideas, and hopefully you slowly start to see a change. As younger generations come up, these ideas begin to take hold, and people get a better shot at life.
What kind of burden is the younger generation in the United States will be saddled with if what our president is proposing if he has his way?
Well, I can put that in the context of the Canadian Ontario healthcare system. I lived in Canada. Our first son was born in Toronto. My wife was in a semi-private room. I think we paid something like $100. Mind you, we were paying each week out of our salary. But by the year 2025, it's anticipated that 100% of the tax revenue for the province of Ontario will go to fund healthcare. Now, obviously, they're going to have to make changes, raise taxes, cut back on services. You know, if you reach a certain age and you got cancer, well, sorry, there's nothing we can do. Reality sets in. And I think that young Americans are going to be faced with exactly the same situation. And coupled with the debt that the debt burden the U.S. now has, you can't be a socialist country and have these things in place.
Don't you think there's a reason why Europe is abandoning its socialist agenda?
For the exact same reason. You just cannot physically afford it. And sometimes, I don't want to be the one that's going to have to die, but hey, reality is we're going to die when we're born. And why should you pay for me? I should be responsible enough for myself that I buy my own health insurance.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
But for some reason, it's easier to believe someone else is going to take care of it for us. When government, and again, I go back to Dr. Milton Friedman, or I think it was him that said that government can give you nothing that it doesn't take from you first.
And eventually does.
But we don't buy into that.
And we'll be back with much more. I'm Armstrong Williams. This is Right Side. Rick Lowe is our guest, Vice President of the Nassau Institute. We'll be back.
Physicians Capital Group offers premium revenue services nationwide. All the benefits of business outsourcing with control of in-house billing. They have a 90% client retention rate to date and have increased the bottom line for every established physician client. With a blended mix of cutting-edge technology, certified and motivated employees, and unique financing options, they can pay a physician today with the procedure they perform today. Visit physicianscapitalgroup.com or call 713-554-5315.
What did Milton Friedman tell us about the 4 ways of how we can spend other people's money, Rick?
Sorry, the 4 ways we can spend money is we can spend our money on ourselves, we can spend our money on other people, we can spend other people's money on ourselves, or we can spend other people's money on other people.
That's true, though.
And that 4th one is the one we seem to think just happens miraculously, that everything is static, that if you don't have growth, economic growth, you can just keep spending and it's gonna, and that goes back to these governments in Europe. If you don't have economic growth, then how can you even think to fund these things? It's a pipe dream.
That's right. Man, I want to thank you for joining us. Your final thoughts?
There's a great future ahead, and I think liberty, economic freedom, if we can just buy into that message, pay attention to people like Mises and Hayek that had these visions and they saw these things before they happened, and we can learn a lot from people like them.
How can someone find out more about the Nassau Institute?
Well, log on to www.nassauinstitute.org. We have regular seminars. We bring in international speakers. We have local speakers on issues like this that will help us all in the long run.
And that's it. Rick, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Armstrong Williams. Good day.